Hi guys, my name is Roger, and I'm building a mid-engine supercar in the basement of my home. Let's take a look at what I've been working on this week. Well, welcome back to the channel, guys. In last week's video we were working on some parts for the rear of the car, and let me give you a little bit of an update to start this video out on what I'm doing currently. Since that video, I have laid up this block of wood. I've got it drying here. This is the final piece of the mold that we're working on for the next part. This is a 4-part mold. Here are the other 3 pieces of it laying in the floor. Once I get this 4th part cut, I'll assemble this and start finishing it. This was the mold that we were working on at the end of last week's video to make a part. You can see that I have used this mold. We have a part, and I had to split this mold in half to get the part out of it because of the undercuts. And I had a little trouble making this part. The part is not as clean as I had hoped, but I think it is salvageable. Let's take a look at this part. I have it clamped here, a couple of clamps holding it in place where it goes. You can see this part will glue to the center valance and make the rear end of the car. The mold that we're cutting and working on now, the wood pieces sitting over there on the floor are the other side of the rear end. It's the mirrored half of this. But I put the tail light in here. I've got it sitting in with a piece of tape just to kind of get a visual on what this looks like. You can see how it sticks out more on this side than the other side. And I put one of our aluminum pieces here. It's just sitting in the hole. This is one of the pieces we cut on the laser cutter last week. That was a set of one of these pieces and the 2 trim pieces here for the rear fender wells. But it's just sitting in the hole. This is kind of what this is going to look like. It looks good. I have ordered some adhesive to bond this together. Once it's bonded together, it'll be bonded and bolted, and then we will finish this seam and hide it with I'm not sure if I'm going to do it with a Bondo or epoxy. I may try to fill in the bulk of it in epoxy where we don't have to use Bondo, and then finish it off with some body filler and high build primer. But we'll see how that works out. Now you can see that the rear end of the car is overhanging the tire too far. It's slid this way some. It needs to go this way slightly. But I think this gives you a visual what this is kind of going to look like. Pretty happy with it. I said this part didn't come out as clean as I had hoped. There were a few little bad spots I have puttied, and there are several more that need putty. But I think a few hours of work will clean that up and make this part usable. And this looks nice. So in last week's video, I had someone ask what PIM studs are. And this is a PIM stud. I pressed it, I cleaned these holes out. I had these holes laser cut 80 thousandths diameter, slightly undersized of the size I needed, and then I ran a drill bit back through this hole for the correct size. These PIM studs press in and bite into aluminum or steel or sometimes even plastic, but they are a flush stud. Now once this is coated, powder coated or anodized or whatever, you will see a witness line around the head of that, but it'll be very faint and almost hidden. It makes a nice clean part. But this is what a PIM stud is. And these parts generally press in with a machine called a PIM serger, but you can do them here with a small arbor press like I have set up, which is how I press this one in. And these PIM studs, which is spelled capital P-E-M, is the company that makes these. PIM is a brand name, but it's kind of generic. I don't know if they actually invented these, but it's like like a Kleenex tissue. Everyone calls them PIM studs. So if you hear a PIM stud, this is what they're talking about. And they also make this in a nut that presses in, also the same, presses in and bites. But I want to show you guys this. Now this is a 440 PIM stud. They make all different sizes, both standard and metric. And this requires a 111 hole to press it in, 111 thousandths. So I drilled these holes out to 111 with a drill bit. And let me show you the process of pressing these in. They're ultra simple. Okay, I have my arbor press set up here, and what I did was I drilled a hole that was just large enough for this PIM stud to pass down in. And to press this in, you drop it here with the PIM stud in the hole. And because my arbor here on the arbor press is not super smooth, if I were to press it hard enough to press this in, it would dent this soft aluminum. So as a buffer, I'm laying this steel washer here to press against so I don't dent the surface of the aluminum. But I'm laying that on here in the center, and then we'll turn the arbor press. Doesn't take a tremendous amount of force. That is pressed in, it is flush. Pull it out of the hole. And that's how a PEM stud works. But anyway, I wanted to show you guys that for the people that were questioning what a PEM stud was. I'm going to go ahead and put the other two in so this part will be finished. And then I can take and clean these up on the buffing wheel. I bought some Scotch-Brite wheels for the buffer, and they clean these aluminum parts up nice to get them ready to be anodized. Well, I have some downtime this weekend. One of the hardest parts about planning a project like this is keeping materials here when you need them so you don't have any downtime, and sometimes that's not so difficult and sometimes it is difficult. It's been raining here a lot lately, which means I can't go and get any more MDF for my molds because it can't get wet. It'll destroy MDF to get wet. And then this weekend the rain turned to snow, so we have a few inches of snow here and the roads are completely inaccessible. North Carolina does not do a good job of keeping the roads clean or cleaning the roads after snow, and people here can't drive in snow either. So there are cars in ditches and roads blocked everywhere. I'm stuck at home. I am out of MDF, so I can't cut any more molds for parts. And my CNC has another bad bearing from MDF dust anyway, so my CNC machine is down also. I did order some adhesive to glue these parts together, and I have these clamped together and they are gluing currently. I drilled some alignment holes here. I lined everything up as close as I could possibly get it. Drilled some alignment holes here, 1/8 holes, and put clecos in them, so it was easy to realign them once I had the adhesive on. And I put the adhesive on, put the clecos in, lined everything up, and I have the clamps setting here. So we'll let these parts sit. I'm not sure how long they need to sit. I need to read on the adhesive and see, but it's probably overnight. And see what we have here. This is going to be hard to see, but the parts are glued together. And once this gluing is completely done, the seam will have to disappear down through here. So I will probably Bondo that seam and blend it in, make it look nice. That should make everything align perfect and make that seam completely disappear. But while we're waiting on my last part of the mold for the mold over for this other end, I have these three parts here. I guess I'm gonna go ahead and start gluing those together, and it's going to be a few days before I can get wood and fix the CNC and continue on. But I have a few other small things I can do on the car while I'm waiting for this to happen. So just wanted to bring you up to speed. This is what I'm working on this weekend. It's small things, but it is things that need to be accomplished for the car to be finished, so it's not a wasted time. And that's where we stand, and I'll check back with you guys when there's more to show you.
Okay guys, have a little update for you. It is early Saturday morning. Here's the mold that we were working on next, but because I had some downtime for two reasons. One, because of the weather. It continued to rain and snow both, and I wasn't able to get wood to finish this mold, and the CNC was broken for several days. I had replaced some bearings that went bad, which is an ongoing problem. I've got to solve my dust issue so I can stop going through bearings so fast, and I am working on that. I have bought some parts that I need to install on the CNC to help with this. But because we're not going to be able to get this mold done in time to show it on this week's video, I have changed direction, and I cut this mold yesterday. This is a simple mold to cut and finish. And I need this also. This is the buckets for the tail lights. This is both the left and the right when they're combined together. I'll make this in one part and then trim out the two pieces. But I wanted to go ahead and throw this one in front of the other mold because I could finish it easier. I am not concerned about the look of this part because once the car is completely assembled, you don't see this part at all. So I don't care that the finish isn't perfect. My main concern is getting the part off the mold. So I just need it slick enough to be able to remove the part once it's made. So my goal is to sand this lightly and start waxing it this morning. I need to put 5 or 6 coats of wax on this. Once all the coats of wax are on this, I'm not even going to put a gel coat on it. And then I'm going to make the part later today. So if we can get this part finished today and off the tool, I can trim it out and start installing that and check the fit of the tail lights. But I want to show you guys this. I'm going to go ahead and start finishing up this mold and get a part made, and then we'll come back and check in and see how this part works out. Okay, I have a little update. I made this part yesterday, and this is the bucket or the cup or the mount for the tail lights. This is both lights, the left and the right. I combined them into one mold, and because of the shape, they have to match the body lines exactly. They orientate exactly a special way. They have to be exactly perfect. And then the lights mount inside these buckets. The orientation has to be exactly perfect also. So I thought that might get confusing to try to align those perfectly and be very time consuming. So I made this part here on the CNC, and this will drop inside of this bucket here. I'll tape it in place before I cut these out and transfer the holes. These holes don't go all the way through, but these holes here are for the mounting of the lights, and then these holes are for clearance for the connector socket, and there's some other features sticking out of the back of the lights. But this should orientate this perfectly. I'll tape that on the inside of the part. I'll take the drill press and transfer the mounting holes, and then I'll cut these other holes here on the router table. And I'll also come in here and cut this with the router table. And this is the shape of the lights. I'll just have to transfer these lines straight down to cut these this part into 2 pieces, and then come across here and just connect those lines. And that should make both of my parts, and hopefully keep it pretty simple to locate all of these holes and cut these out the correct shape. But let me give this a try. We'll tape this part in here and cut all these circles or holes in the end, and then we'll work on cutting out the individual light buckets and see if everything aligns correctly in the right orientation. Okay, I trimmed out these light buckets here using this template that I made. I double-sided taped this on the inside of the bucket pattern and run the router table around the perimeter and through all the holes, and transferred these holes in the drill press with the drill bit. And this is what we have. You can see it fits pretty well. This hole is off center just a little, but it has clearance. The clearance for this bump, I don't know what that is exactly, clearance for the connector, and then the 3 holes for the mounts. Now, because this light sticks out in the back here, I had to cut this open to allow for clearance. And then once all this was done, let's see if I can pick this up. We come over here to our part, and this fits up inside here. And once we rotate it to where it aligns correctly, that is what this looks like. So the pattern or the template seemed to work. Everything seems to orient correctly for the light to fit and work correctly. And the next thing for me to do is to take this and glue this in. I'll glue these 2 carbon fiber parts together, and hopefully the light will insert through the opening here and drop in and fit and align in the holes in the bucket easily, so we can remove the light and put the light in and then bolt it in place when it's finished. Let me get busy doing that. I'm going to get this light bucket glued into place. I brought a sheet of wood down. I need to go ahead and cut this into blanks. This will be for the next part that we're going to start CNCing, which will be for the rear diffuser. It goes along the bottom of this main assembly once we get both sides on it, but I need to start getting that diffuser cutting so it'll be ready once we finish this pattern. And this pattern has been painted with a coat of glue. That's why it is yellow, and we'll start working on it. I need to fill in some missing pieces and start working this down with sandpaper and blending it all in, making it look good and align correctly. So this will be several days work, but I have several things going on at one time. But while I'm working on all of these components here,
I need this in the CNC machine cutting, so the next pattern will be underway, so we don't have as much downtime. We're not waiting. But let me get this part here gluing into this rear assembly and make sure it all aligns, and I'll check back with you guys when that glue is set up, and we'll see what this looks like. Well, let's take a look at what we've accomplished this week. I have this mold all glued together and painted with a coat of wood glue and ready to start finalizing or finishing. I need to fill in some missing blocks and then start block sanding and working this in, making it a nice pattern. A lot of work left to do here. It'll take me at least a full week to get this ready to use. Also, on the car itself, I wanted to show you how this tail light bucket turned out. You can see here that we glued the bucket in place. The light is installed. It is bolted in and attached in the correct position. It's a little tight to get in and out, but it is possible. You can see where I had to cut the shape here for clearance for this side of the light to swing over and clear and miss. But this is what it looks like. It fits pretty nice. I don't know if you can see that up close, but there's a good snug tolerance fit around there all the way around. Pretty happy with this. Also glued these two pieces together and started filling in with some Bondo and putty to blend that seam nicely. It's getting close, not quite perfect yet, but I'm to the point of just sanding a few other little spots, and then it'll be ready to put a coat of primer on. But I can't do the primer until the other side is finished and glued on. I want to prime this all at one time. But it's looking pretty good. Get back from where you can see this. Also, haven't mentioned it yet in the video, but the letters that I had SLA'd came in. They are just sitting here in the place. They locate with the holes. They will attach with some double-sided tape once the car is finished, and these are painted whatever color I'm going to finish them in. I'm not quite sure yet, but that locates them and holds them in place. You can see that the holes make everything align correctly. It looks nice. I've also been working on license plate mounts. Stole the license plate off of my car, and just to check for fit and function and size to get these attachments in the right place to bolt it on. I have 4 screw locations to attach the license plate, so you could use 2 or 4. And also up underneath I've installed the 2 lights that light up the license plate. So once the wires are run to those, we'll light those up and test them. That'll be a while. I'm not in any hurry to finalize the lighting, but also as far as lighting goes, I don't have the connector that mates to this Ferrari tail light, and I've been doing a lot of research trying to find out what kind of connector this is, and I can't find it. There's no way to buy the connector unless I buy the entire rear wiring harness for a Ferrari 488, and it is quite expensive. I've forgotten that. It was like $3,000 to $5,000, and I'm not paying that. So I'm just going to measure. I'm going to reverse engineer, make my own connector. I'll have them 3D printed utilizing some female connectors that will connect with these pins in here, these male pins. And I have several different Holley connectors or pins here that I'll use, and I'll just model in SolidWorks a receiving connector for that will accept the Holley pins, and I will purchase those, probably have them SLA'd like these letters are. And speaking of the letters, I bought these from a company in China. The letters were super inexpensive. I think it was like $10 or $12 for these letters. The shipping was actually more than the letters themselves. And really happy with the company and the quality of the work. And to be honest, we'll talk more about this company in an upcoming video, because I think this company is most likely going to be our first sponsor on this channel. And so maybe not the next video, but in 2 more videos from now, I'm getting ready to order something from them that is a really large piece that will be impressive to see once it gets here. But we'll talk more about them in a future video. I'm excited to see how good of quality is on this piece I'm ordering, and I think anyone watching this channel would be impressed by this part and the company itself. But we'll talk about more in an upcoming video. For right now, I just wanted you to see this, what it's looking like. I also have the mold for the rear diffuser on the CNC cutting right now, at least half of it. Once this half finishes, we'll do the other side. Now this is just the base for the diffuser and not the fins themselves. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to make the fins myself or just buy some flat material and machine them, or router cut them out of the flat material, because the fins are all flat and they would have to be glued and attached to the main diffuser panel that bolts in there. But that panel is cutting. In the next video, hopefully we will finish this mold sitting over here on the table and make a part so we can go ahead and bolt it or glue it to this rear assembly and get this rear assembly finished, so we can start finalizing some primer and some other details that go with it. And then we'll start working on finishing this rear diffuser. We'll see how far we get in the next video, but I guess that's going to be about it for this week's video, and I'll see you guys again in a few weeks.